So challenge five.
Challenge 5.
Challenge 5.
Challenge 5.
Challenge five was all about our go-to market strategy as well as our financials.
This challenge was quite different because we need to focus mainly on how exactly we are going to scale this product if this is going out in market.
Was the go-to-market strategy and the financial modeling.
Figuring out our go-to-market strategy and then also our 3-year financial projections.
I think this challenge was the most businessy out of them all. We are trying to make or build a business out of this program. How we decided to go about it was to work on our go-to-market strategy first and figure out all the different things that needed to be done and on what timeline to determine what our finances would look like. I think the go-to-market strategy was there were a little bit more resources, I would say, when you look online or just in terms of what was provided with the challenge. The financial part was a little bit more difficult because we are all early stage companies, some of us in the ideation phase, so we don't necessarily have the numbers.
So we need to work on our go-to-market strategies. If we are getting our first customer, how will we actually use that knowledge to make those customers from first to 10 to 100 to 1,000, and then how exactly we are going to scale it to a big business. It's more about how exactly you can strategize, what kind of understanding you have for the market in general, and how well you understand the market, which your competitors don't understand, because now you are definitely trying to take a bite from your competitors. In this case, we're actually doing financial projections, how exactly our business is going to look like in first 3 years or 5 years. So it is a very good preparation for things like if we are fundraising, if we are pitching it to investors and all.
We actually started with the financial modeling because we wanted to kind of get everything onto an Excel spreadsheet, take a look at it, and get a mentor to look at it as well, which was incredibly helpful. And then for the go-to-market strategy, we took more of a creative approach to it, kind of a creative logic, which was, okay, how do we get people interested in our product, but also in a way where we build credibility and they trust the product. Getting the first 1,000 users, I think, is the hardest part because you don't really have user reviews or somebody that can vouch for your business and say, oh no, they're credible and they're good at what they do. You should try them.
Putting everything into numbers and seeing at the end of the day, a business has to be sustainable and make a profit, and seeing how the idea, what do we need, what costs do we need to incur to make this even to be able to provide this to our users, and at the same time, how many users do we need to have on our platform in order to make this a feasible business.
I thought this was maybe one of the more involved or challenging challenges because we really needed to take stock of where we were, practically what the steps were needed to move forward and to quantify them, and then also just make it make sense.
Making those projections, I would say, was a huge step for us because we were considering, costs that we haven't considered before. So for example, even just considering, where we would set up our facility, what costs would be associated with that. So making the projections really, it promoted a very real approach to the business, and it really made us see where we would be taking this physically in not just the next year, but also in the next couple of years.
So for me, I basically started off with the go-to-market side of it, where I first did a competitive analysis. I moved into figuring out what my type of sales would be, how I would enter the market, what would make the most sense. Worked on the flywheel, figured out how I would get to my first 100, 1,000, 10,000 customers. There's a lot more details than I had originally expected there to be. And then moving on to the financial projections, it's something that I've never really considered, and there were so many little things, everything was attached based on the user. In the end, it made more sense than it did during the challenge.